Hey now, it is Dan Aberhart here, today's host of the Growing the Future podcast. We are back with season 4, episode 10. You can sign up at our newsletter at growingthefuturepodcast.ca to get emails about our new episodes and find out about all of our past episodes there. Make sure to give us a follow on all the social media platforms out there and our YouTube channel. You can watch the video of these conversations. You can also find the Aberhart family of companies online, starting with aberhartfarms.com to learn more about our farming operation in Saskatchewan. Suregrowth.ca to learn more about the precision agronomy consulting services that my brother and his team offers to producers. ConvergenceGrowth.com, where they accelerate solutions across food, health, and agriculture. And last but not least, AberhartAgSolutions.ca, where we deliver one-of-a-kind fertility solutions of the future to your farm. My next guest is the director of a research and development company called Crop Intellect, based in the UK. He's already put in a 10-hour day, and now he's going to tell us all kinds of very interesting things. It's going to be awesome. This company, this fellow has invented a product called R-Leaf, which converts air pollution to fertilizer for plants. You know who's going to love that? Planet Earth. All of planet Earth is going to love that one. I had the pleasure of meeting Tolis recently at the AgTech Accelerator hosted by Cultivator in Regina, Saskatchewan, where they had an international consortium of folks come over and talk about how to accelerate their businesses and work in North America here. I was blown away by the prospect of this new technology, cleaning nitrogen oxide pollution out of the air, reducing our reliance on the Haber-Bosch process, and yielding more bushels for farmers. So I certainly wanted to catch up to this man. You can find him on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and check out his website at www.cropintellect.co.uk. Today we're going to be talking about this fellow's background and the genesis of this solution. What does this product do, and what does it mean for agriculture? And we're going to catch up a little bit on his experience at the accelerator and where he's going to go from here. Frankly, I'm hoping that we can help him bring this product to Canada one way or the other. Welcome to the show, the one and only Apostolos Papadopoulos.
Hello, Dan. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invite. And great to chat about R-Leaf and my background and what's the next move.
Excellent. Yeah, it's great to see you. We had a great time getting to know each other a little bit and learning about your product in Regina a couple months ago. So this is going to be a great catch up for us both. And I wanted to tell the world about what you're doing because I'm very, very proud of what you're doing. I'm very excited for agriculture and humanity. I don't think it's a small thing. So tell us, how do you get to creating a product? How does your professional background get you to this place where you invent a product like this? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's not all about education. It's about the passion. So I've always been passionate for agriculture and particularly crops, how the crops grow, because they can't go anywhere basically. They've got roots and all the fighting that they do basically, and the growing is down to chemistry and reactions, and that always fascinated me. So I decided to leave sunny Greece and come to the UK in 1998, which was good time in Greece actually, good times. Joined Plymouth University. I did bachelor honors in agriculture, focusing on crop science. Then I went to Nottingham University to do my master's in crop science. Then I stayed on to do a PhD in soil science because I see the crop scientists blaming the crops, the soil scientists blame the soil, and I wanted to know who was right. And then I followed that with a postdoc, which joined hydrology, crop science, and soil science. So, you can see that I was going purely on an academic career, publications, and a lot of times ending up doing research for the sake of it because, if something hasn't been researched, it's easy to research it and put publications out because that's what counts for academics. But then you realize that nobody reads these publications, they get referenced. And you think, what's the point? So I've got to be more applied. I want to do things that have an impact. And this is what we've achieved 10 years later. So that's pretty much my academic background. Then I worked for a couple of companies. One was in the AIM market, so it was in the stock market. A lot of pressures. I've learned a lot. They were developing biopesticides and biostimulants. And then I worked for a private company, 200 million turnover, focusing on potatoes. And again, as R&D manager, I've learned a lot. I've given a lot to the company, but I had too many ideas to just stay under the R&D role in a large business. So yeah, as it happened, in 2012, I set up Crop Intellect, and the horizon just opened. So the first technology that I started to develop was increasing chlorophyll. So I wanted to increase the chlorophyll in crops, which meant that it will have a global reach. And if we increase the chlorophyll, we can increase the sugar production, the assimilation of sunlight, and that should result in an increased biomass, increased yield, which is what everybody wants. And it became core to the business to protect this with IP. So we're very good at patent preparations, and we ended up with a patent portfolio on that specific technology. And after selling it to the farmers through distributors, also licensing it for some countries, eventually we had, Cargill, or a subsidiary of Cargill in the UK, that made an offer to actually buy the patent, and we thought, okay, that's chapter one. We can sell that. They can, get into the market, and we can move on to something bigger. So we've got another patent portfolio actually of a product called Tecal, or technology called Tecal, and that releases calcium from the vacuole inside the plant cell and moves it to the cell wall. So you increase your shelf life of produce, particularly used in vegetables and fruit. And this is currently in the market. Again, the patent is granted globally. And the more exciting stuff, it's under R-leaf, which, rightly so done, described it, where we capture air pollution and turn it into fertilizer. And in particular, we focus on nitrous oxides that are converted to nitrate. And this is done through photocatalysis. The novelty of the technology is in the photocatalyst itself. We developed a process that turns it into a viable photocatalytic converter under normal light, because usually photocatalysts require UV light. So anyway, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but there's a lot to say.
No, it's great. It's a great segue.
Yeah, so that's the innovation basically, and there's no point explaining too much about photocatalysis, because it's something that is well known, studied in the last 100 years, and is used in many industries. So our special part is that conversion, so that it works under normal light rather than a high energy light, which is UV, basically.
So how did you end up making this connection that this technology that's been around for 100 years could actually do a number of things in the environment for producers and for the environment overall and for plants?
Yeah, there are a lot of ideas in the pipeline. It's just a matter of when you get around to do them. A problem you will see with inventors is they usually have a list of 150 projects that are waiting to be done, which means you can probably spend 2 days per year per project. So one thing I'm trying to do is just be very focused, prioritized by impact, and this technology, this idea was, and I've seen the photocatalysts, I've seen what they do. They're used as converters basically, and I thought, as we know that they produce they convert nitrous oxide to nitrate, and I thought we can do that on the surface of the plant. That would be excellent, because we can convert gases into nitrate, where we wanted to be basically. So this is how it started, and then it was a matter of thinking how we can change this material, and we, as we typically do, we try to find collaborators, partners, and at the same time experts from the industry. We're looking at universities, companies, research institutes globally, really, and because research is not cheap. And it's dead money, as a lot of companies will call it. We had Innovate UK kindly accepting our proposal, so we were funded by them, which was great because it allows us to get the best people on board, and we managed to develop that methodology of converting the photocatalyst to be effective under normal light. And similarly to previous technologies, we went the patent way, again, not a cheap process. We've been working on ARLI for 5 years. As a researcher, I wanted to make sure that I don't have any stone unpicked. So I didn't want to have any questions that I say, I'm not sure about this. That's something we'll have to do. So yes, I wanted to answer a lot of the questions before we went out in the public, basically, and say, yes, we have a technology now that it can offer a solution to nitrogen management and air pollution, pretty much.
Yeah, I'd like to just stop there and kind of summarize for the listener what this actually means, because what we're talking about here is a really simple method of applying something to the crop in season that not only removes nitrous oxide pollution from the air, but provides nitrogen to the plant to create more yield. Why is this such a big deal for the industry? I mean, we've been, even if you want to give people a context of current practices where synthetically we produce Haber-Bosch process to the tune of keeping half the population alive by virtue of this technology that's been around since 1905, 1908. I think if you read the Alchemy of Air, this is a really big deal. Why is this important, Tolis?
Yeah, so having the ability, in a way, what happens is research is you can do a lot of things in a closed environment, in a controlled environment. It's when you go outdoors that you got the problem that a lot of the technologies don't work. Examples, we've got bacteria, not agriculture is so diverse, and you've got a bacteria that will produce a certain chemical that will do something to the crop, or it will work in a synergy, but not all the conditions are there basically to make that synergy work, the symbiosis basically. Equally, you've got biostimulants, so you can show how plants react to specific chemicals. But then when you go outdoors, then there's a completely different world out there. There's more chemistry, there's more defense mechanisms in the plants. So the outdoor plant to the indoor is very different. So that's, this is where we have worked always with robust chemistry, robust material, and the uniqueness of this material is that it's a mineral basically. We've done the conversion and it works wherever you put it. So you can lay it down on a piece of wood, or you can lay down metal or any surface, and it will work. It just needs the light to charge as a photocatalyst, and it will convert nitrous oxides to nitrate. What we did is we converted this complexity into something simple, where we just put it in a bottle, and the farmer doesn't have to understand what's going on in there. Just they need to pour it into a spraying tank and spray it together with everything else that goes onto the plant. So we're at the size that the material is not absorbed by the plant, and they will continuously produce nitrate on the surface of the plant. And as you're asking, I mean, this is able to allow the farmer to manage the nitrogen applications. So we know that when we put nitrogen on the crop, about 50% of it is lost. And part of it is lost through the breakdown of the bacteria into nitrate from whatever source it starts. And as part of that conversion, we've got nitrous oxide being released from the soil. So that nitrous oxide is what we're trying to capture and put it back into the plant, but on the plant surface, which is a lot more effective. So if you are saying applying to the plant a kilo of nitrogen from nitrous oxide is the equivalent of 5 to 10 times that. And on average, we're working out that we're supplying 5 kilos per month to the plant using olive. And I've got to share the good news because last week we've had the European Innovation Council who have a tool called the Climate Impact Forecast tool, and we were invited to use that tool to work out the life cycle of the product and what it does as an impact, so to have it validated. And they validated 5.4 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent removed per hectare where we apply 2 liters of olive, and that is a huge impact.
Yeah, how why is this nitrogen oxide such an issue, and how much of an issue is it really?
Yeah, so nitrous oxide is basically a greenhouse gas, and similar to carbon dioxide, it traps the energy, it traps the heat into the atmosphere. So the problem is that nitrous oxide, although it's less than carbon dioxide, it has a prolonged life, so it will stay there once produced for over 100 years, and is 265 times more potent as a greenhouse gas compared to carbon dioxide. So that's why it is important. And I have to say, everybody at the moment is focusing on carbon dioxide and on methane, and although they are bad, for the environment and they are in masses, there is very little done about nitrous oxide because there isn't the kit or the technology that can reduce nitrous oxide. Even the stabilized fertilizers and they can be more effective for crop production, but the amount of fertilizer that you put in the soil and the amount of nitrous oxide produced, it doesn't change. So you can prolong it, but you don't actually reduce it.
How is this nitrous oxide being produced?
So this is as part of the nitrogen cycle. So the bacteria breakdown will just release gases, and that's as part of the nitrogen cycle is the reaction that produces the nitrous oxide. But it's not just the fertilizers, also the organic matter breakdown that will produce nitrous oxide. So and that's the thing, if you're not from a scientific background related to agriculture, you wouldn't know, but nitrous oxide has been monitored in grassland for the last 80 years, and there's a lot of papers to show how much nitrous oxide is produced and what is the impact of that, both for climate change and air pollution. So now nitrous oxide is also produced by combustion engines. So every car will produce nitrous oxide. This is why we've got the catalytic converters and the AdBlue, which is pretty much ammonia that mixes the gases so that you don't release nitrous oxide. That's another story anyway. That's
it makes me it's totally off topic, but it makes me think of a funny story back home at the farm where our Buick LeSabre had a catalytic converter underneath that got very hot, and Mom was bringing out lunch and set the field on fire, right, with the straw and everything. That's kind of ironic,
nice.
kind of funny. I never thought of that. Catalytic converter. Okay. Yeah, we're zoning in on some real world things here. How much nitrous oxide is being sequestered, and how much nitrogen is being produced? The number that you had here was 5 kilograms of nitrate per month. That would be 11 pounds of nitrogen per month. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's about right. So of course it depends with how much of the RLIF you put on. So if you double that amount, you'll get twice as much. It depends on the background of nitrous oxide. So if you haven't got nitrous oxide, nothing gets converted. However, we're doing now work to exactly show the different situations from, if the gas content of the air in NO, NO2 and N2O is different, how much do we convert and which is the preferred conversion basically. So we're learning more in detail, if you like, with some external universities as to what the technology does. Because it's easy to measure it. You can just leave it out there for a few hours. This is spraying a specific surface, leave it for a few hours, then you can wash it, if you like, with water, and then you can analyze for the nitrate that is inside the water. Or on a crop, you can measure the sap after 5 days and see how much of the extra nitrogen is there, or look at the growth of the plant, look at the chlorophyll, sugars. So there's many ways that we've been using to monitor this in farm, and we've had very good response. We have had increases of yield of up to 20%. Both in cereals, in peas, and that's significant. We've seen farms that have of a less percent, but our problem has been that the farmers were not happy to reduce the amount of nitrogen that they put on. So we were asking them to reduce it by 10, 20, 30%, so that we see how much of that the RLIF can recover and can replace. But until the prices have gone up, we were not able to get the farmer to do it. So instead of getting, if you like, a reduction of nitrogen applied, which is a saving to the farmer, we were getting an extra yield. So they were using RLIF as an addition, which provides more nitrogen, and particularly for varieties that are responsive to nitrogen. We've got really good results back. There are some varieties.
Why don't farmers want to reduce their nitrogen application?
Well, I think companies have tried to bring the technologies and different ways of farming up in the last 40 years, and just farmers are not, and if you do reduce the nitrogen quite significantly, you do have a yield loss. Mm-hmm. So it's that fear of the yield loss that the farmer is not prepared to take. And as we know, the prices have been good enough or acceptable, and part of the costs basically for the farmer to decide to just use the standard rate. And we've got traditionally the curves of the nitrogen use efficiency. Mm-hmm. So it peaks at about 200, 220 kilograms per hectare. Talking always kilograms and talking hectares.
Yeah, I wanted to find
we'll
some
do the conversion.
Kilograms to hectare, kg per hectare to acres here, so I can translate for that.
But it will be the same in a way, because you're looking to be near the peak, and you're always working out what the cost will be to the benefit. But if you do, if you have the amount of nitrogen, then it has to be replaced, because you will have a significantly yield loss. So.
Okay, so it's saying here 1 kilogram per hectare is roughly equivalent. Well, not roughly, exactly equivalent. You're a scientist, so got to be careful here. Yeah. Exactly the equivalent of 0.892179 pounds per acre. So it's close. You'd want to divide the mass by area value by 1.121. So anyways, it's pretty close for what you're talking. So go back to that number you were talking, kilograms per hectare. you had mentioned how much nitrous oxide is being sequestered, and I guess how much nitrogen per hectare. So it's roughly the same.
Yeah. And the other part to the technology is that as it is a technology that removes nitrous oxide from the atmosphere, it bears carbon credits, and the carbon credits, of course, are going up in value, and they're becoming part of the economy now, and a lot of companies are interested, and there's a lot of trading going on, and I think it's going to be bigger than Bitcoin. or the
Wow, that's big. That's big.
Yeah, and what we have found out is that the mitigation, so avoidance of nitrous oxide production or avoidance of carbon dioxide production, is cheaper than removal. So the fact that our leaf removes nitrous oxide, it's much more valuable because we're actually removing it from the atmosphere rather than avoiding it. So if I don't switch my engine to go to the supermarket, this is avoidance. But being able to actually remove the existing nitrous oxide, that is more, is removal basically, is more valuable. So we believe, and this, the European Innovation Council validated, say, 5.4 tons. So that's pretty much 5 carbon credits per hectare, 2.6 acres to the hectare, or thereabouts.
Yeah.
But that is a significant financial support for the farmer, if you like, if we're able to generate that or near that amount. So assuming we have 3 carbon credits validated and we're registering with gold standard, that means that a carbon credit can be $40, can be $100. Today I was talking to a trading company, and they said it can be up to $1,000 per carbon credit for removal of nitrous oxide, which I thought is too much, but it's nice to hear it from a
You'll
trader.
take it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll take that. But that's the thing. So you're managing your nitrogen, you're balancing your yield, or you're increasing your yield, and the carbon credits is in addition to that. Potentially, we could have companies, the likes of the big ones, Google, Microsoft, even the supermarkets involved in the food system, where because you've got logistics, you've got servers burning a lot of electricity, and the cement industry, a lot of other industries, that they haven't got a way of reducing their carbon footprint. So what they have to do is support projects that are actually helping to mitigate or remove that pollution that they cause, basically. So the idea is that we will have these companies supporting the use of our leaf to produce these carbon credits, but because we're in farming, that can be localized. So a company, let's say in Regina, they can say, well, I want to support the local farmers, I want to generate the carbon credits in the local farm, in the local community, and not something in some project in Asia or some project in South America where there's no relationship basically to that benefit. It's just purely carbon credits generated. So we have this ability to generate the carbon credits in the locality that a company wants to provide that support as well.
Well, this is fascinating. If you could chart out all of the impacts that this application, this product has, because you are sequestering nitrous oxide pollution, you are providing nitrate to the plant, you are potentially reducing the need for synthetically produced nitrogen, which removes the pressure of the fertilizer from the environment, the fertilizer that's lost to the environment one way or the other. We know it's not 100% efficacy when we apply nitrogen. And then all of the secondary and tertiary effects there too, with the energy it takes to produce that and the logistics to move it and all that good stuff. And then you start talking about soil health and bacteria and how synthetic nitrogen affects the life of the biota, like the nature and the life of the biota and the soil and all that. There's a lot of ramifications to this product. So the carbon credit side, you're getting compensated solely for the sequestration, or is there other aspects if you cut back your nitrogen use as well? Or what are you being compensated for on the carbon credit side?
Yeah, on the carbon credit, we are going to apply purely because we cannot force the farmer to reduce the nitrogen or, specifically say you've got to reduce it by 20% or certain kilograms. We're going to keep it consistent and clear and just have only the benefit of RLIF claimed. So a farmer who decides to reduce nitrogen or make other activities in the farm that bear carbon credits, or they have like some local scheme, they can still apply for that. So we're not stealing, if you like, any opportunity from the farmer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's interesting. How does your product compare to the bacteria that we're seeing more and more bacteria-based products that, they'll get nitrogen from the atmosphere? What are some of the pros and cons of what you're doing?
Yeah, again, the bacteria that produce nitrogen are very well known for the legumes, but obviously what is interesting is to use them with cereals, with crops that they don't usually form a symbiosis. So typically these bacteria are symbiotics and they're endophytes, so they live inside the plants. And to be able to make that relationship, you've got to get the bacteria to go inside the plant and be happy, which means, when you apply a lot of products that contain biocides and fungicides and herbicides, insecticides, etc., don't always help the bacteria to thrive. And then they have to multiply in each crop enough to build enough population to actually make an effect by producing nitrogen. So, as I said earlier, always with bacteria is that thing that they can work in a controlled environment, but once you get them out there, different varieties, different conditions, different crops, situations, it's very difficult to have a consistent effect. So I've seen, obviously I looked at them, and I've seen variable results. In some cases they do work, in some cases they don't. But it's interesting that a lot of the companies that do have this bacteria are talking to us. So there must be a reason that they're talking to us. And as a matter of fact, we have started to do some work where we combine this bacteria with our product to see if there is a synergy and if they two work better together, because potentially the bacteria could be benefited by having nitrogen as a source, basically to establish and to grow. So it could be a synergy there that we would like to explore.
Is it just foliar application that works, or have you thought, does it work? I guess it doesn't work coating fertilizer because it really needs the sun. It just really needs this. You said it works on soil though as well.
Yeah, it needs to be exposed to the light, basically, to be able to work. So even when you apply it on the crop, when the new foliage covers the sprayed surfaces, then you need to reapply, and that's why we're going twice onto the cereals. It can be applied on the soil. It will be until that soil is covered with a canopy, basically, of the crop, that it will not work anymore. We have a lot of ideas incorporating this into other products, so we don't have to have it as a separate product, as well as incorporating it into material like plastic. But what we're trying to do is, from a commercial point of view, make sure that we have a clear and very focused target, which is the cereals. If we get that right, then we can expand into other crops, and we can expand into various other sectors and industries, really, with technology. So it's truly there is a global potential for this technology to roll out. We already work with a company in London where they spray green walls and green whatever. There's green screens, there's trees, flower pots, all these green stuff. Any space that is green really in London, which is not much, but that is helping convert some of the nitrous oxide, which is purely the point of air pollution in London. They don't care about putting nitrogen to crop, so they're just purely caring about reducing the air pollution, because in the UK, believe it or not, there is a claim that there are 26,000 premature deaths because of nitrous oxide pollution, which this time and age is it's a big thing.
Yeah. So how much impact do you think you could have on that statistic if you're able to get this into urban areas and gardens in the city?
Yeah, we're actually, although there are a lot of parks that we can actually spray. Working with councils to do that is not very easy, because they have to work out budgets and who and how and whatever. We have tried, and it's moving slowly, but we're working with Grosvenor. Grosvenor is one of the owners of Mayfair in London, and they've got quite a lot of land, very expensive land. But we're doing a project to show how the technology can reduce the nitrous oxide within a vicinity of 10 acres. So that's that's purely cleaning the air within a specific region, which will be used as a project to demonstrate to the various boroughs within London, and then expand into other cities. There's a company, the same company that we work with does the smart pillars, so they're planning to do this, I don't know, something like 50 million poles, which light poles in the streets of London. So each one of them, the idea is they would hold a green, smart pole, as they say. So it will be full of flowers that allow some sensors to be in there, but at the same time greenery, which will be a place to have R-leaf, which will help covering square meters that convert nitrous oxide to an inert material, basically.
You're going to be a national hero, my friend.
Well, we're part of the platinum jubilee for the Queen. We might provide some R-leaf so that she can spray the.
You're gonna supply some R-leaf for the Queen.
Palace.
Is that true?
Yeah, that is true, actually, because the distributor that we work with, they do supply product to the for the amenity and the flowers and Buckingham
You're gonna
Palace.
you're gonna be a knight. They're gonna make you a knight by the end of this, Tolis.
It's not my dream. It's not my
but
dream.
you'd take
I can
it.
Tell you that.
You would get down on one knee and you would take the sword. You would have the cape or whatever they do. Oh, it's crazy. So with the producer, do you really feel like you've nailed down how much you think to reduce their nitrogen and how much of this product to apply to get the maximum yield and economic benefit? Obviously, the last pound of nitrogen that you apply isn't as worth as much as the first pound of nitrogen. So there must be a bit of a sweet spot. Or what are you recommending to people? And what do you tell them is the economic return on this practice and product?
Yeah, so it has been difficult to start with because, obviously we tried the different times of the growing season, different quantities. We've got to balance the cost of the product with the benefit. And it's quite a fine line to get that right, as in to the optimum for every situation. And it will not be, when you say we have concluded that the best way to apply it is 1 liter per hectare because of the amount of material that it contains, and is relating to the surface area we're putting on the crop, and to be the most effective, basically, and most economic. But yeah, in the last year, and what we're saying has been difficult is because when we talk to distributors, they directly think nitrogen. The moment you mention nitrogen, they say, okay, urea, that's cheap. So if you're producing X amount, then that's what this is what you're offering basically. But this is the teaching that we have to do and training to the agronomists, that it's not a matter of if we supply 5 kilos of N, it's not a matter that we're supplying that value of nitrogen, because applying a small amount to the crop on a daily basis removes a lot of the stresses that the high application of nitrogen has. So the response of the plant receiving a small amount of nitrogen and having a continuous growth, it gives a much better response in yield than just a one-off application or a split application of nitrogen. So that's the difficulty translating research into the commercial, the commercial talk basically.
How long does one application last? It says on your website that the photocatalyst it doesn't deteriorate when it's producing nitrate, but likely it washes off the leaf or reduces its efficacy. How does that work?
Yeah, so the formulation has stickers in it because we want to stick the material on the foliage, and we can recover about 80% of the material after 4 weeks. A lot of times 4 to 6 weeks. So, we're saying that for 6 weeks the material will be there and will be working, and this is the time when you reapply anyway because of the growth at that time. We're going for T1 and T2, which in terms of the growth stage is 32 to 33, and then 38 to 40. So this is when the application, the optimal application timing is. Yeah, I guess that answers your question.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering, you must have learned a lot. I mean, this isn't the first time that you've brought a product to life cycle. Where are you now in this product's life cycle in terms of, getting it to market? Maybe it's in your future to sell this patent again. What is it? Where are you at in that life cycle? Haven't done it before.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Until now, I thought the questions were easy because they're technical. Now moving to commercial.
Yeah, no, they're hard questions for sure.
I should bring my commercial manager to talk about it. But yeah, I have to say, it's a learning process for me. Starting with what I enjoy, which is the technical part. But then, as I said, you've got to be getting these technologies to be used globally. Otherwise, what is the point of developing them? And they're like your creations. You want to see everybody using them, and you want to see them used as a solution and actually making a difference. And we have proven the impact, and we want to put it into the market as quickly as possible. And we've developed various options and business plans, and we looked at the ways that we can get the product into the market. And of course, there's various key collaborations that we can have. We can work with distributors, and we kind of explored these options previously with the previous technologies, but now all the roads. What they say, all the roads end up in Rome. So all the roads end up in the point where we actually need investment. So to be able to grow into the global markets, to capture quickly and enter the markets everywhere, of course, prioritized, but it needs investment. And this is what we're doing now. So in the next 3 months, we will be identifying the investors that we want to work with, either if these are companies or VCs, collaborators too. So we want to see the investors as collaborators as well, not just pure money. And yeah, we're gonna roll this out everywhere.
How much money did you raise at the cultivator in Regina? Was it worth the flight?
Right, the cultivator. I have to say, I've been in quite a few accelerator programs and government programs and support programs, and of course, that is coming through the Innovate UK Edge, and I thank them because we did take part in the US project as well, where we get a mentor and we learn more about the US market and how to enter it and the specifics of the market, market insights. It hasn't been easy because obviously with COVID everything is online and you don't build the same relationship with people. But I have to say the accelerator program in Regina, it's second to none. It's just brilliant. The guys have done really, really good job. So I don't think I'll find any. Yeah, and there is potential there. I have met very good people, including yourself, and obviously, we're following it up, and we want to start collaborations. Canada is a very exciting space for agriculture, not just because of the hectareage, the area that there is, but you've got a lot of challenges. You've got to grow a crop within a very short period of time, and you've got to maximize what you can get out of it, and at the same time having all the challenges with trying to be green and trying to balance a profitable farming with actually creating food for Canada and the world, because you're a big exporter. So that's is a very exciting space. There are a lot of people who already showed interest to invest and talk more, distribute the product, and we would love to run some tests with yourselves and see, and understand, because as a scientist, if I was a salesperson, I would say this is going to work 100% and we're going to make you rich, etc. But as a scientist now, with my scientific hat, I have to say, let's see how it works in Canada. It could be better than what we've seen. It could be that we have to manage it or make some changes basically to work for that system.
Hey, I'm sure it's going to work in Canada. It's the same sun that beats down on our foreheads too when we're working in the field, so it should be the same concept. I think this is really important technology on so many fronts. They're talking about a 30% reduction in fertilizer use here, and that might be mandated. So producers might have no choice but to cut back in certain areas, become more efficient, and look at alternatives like this to keep production up. And we're going into a world situation where, if you listen to Peter Zehan, he said, 1 billion people could experience hunger here shortly by virtue of all the geopolitical affairs that are going on and the breadbasket of the world there with Ukraine and Russia, not to mention fertilizer. The fertilizer complex is through the roof. We were buying nitrogen at $350 a ton a summer or two ago, and we'll see what the dip is here. But it's looking like it's going to be around $1,000, and the whole complex is so dependent on synthetic fertility that any of these advances will be a huge boon for producers and for the environment, and to address health issues with the public. That is absolutely fantastic. So I hope we get an opportunity to help you out some way or the other in Canada, whether we become some sort of full-blown distributor or make the right introductions. But this is incredibly exciting stuff for the world, for humankind, because really for the last 100 years, it's been all about the Haber-Bosch process. And it's fantastic. It's much like oil. It's provided the world the ability to grow in population and look at our standard of living. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty grateful for all the amenities that we have. I mean, you punch in HelloFresh and you get fresh meals that you can cook up just like a restaurant in your house, tasty and fresh, ingredients from all over the world. It's incredible. Even in a pandemic that we haven't hardly skipped a beat. And technology like this is going to advance things still further. I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing this technology with us, and I'm really excited about seeing how it works on the farm. I guess I have one really simple final question for you, Tolos, from a farmer's perspective, and unfortunately, farmers have had every solution under the sun, with that had variability or not, whether it was true or not. I mean, they've had every solution under the sun thrown at them, and if for most producers, anything new immediately goes into the bin of snake oil. But it seems like you have some real evidence here, or some simple technology that you've converted, if you will, to making this reduce pollution and increase yields and make farmers more profitable. What would you say to a producer here in Canada that might be skeptical that it's just another snake oil based on the science that you're familiar with?
Yeah, very simple question to finish up, Dan. Thank you. Yeah. Well, again, as a scientist, and when I first walked into the first farm to say, I've developed something, and listening to a farmer say, oh, well, we've heard it all before, and, we can't trust anyone. And it's disheartening, really, because, and I saw a lot of companies of different sizes going out there and promoting products that they don't do very much, or they don't work, or they're not explained well, or they're not used rightly, for whatever reasons. They're not working. They're not offering the farmer a solution, basically, that they're paying for. And if anything, it has made my work a lot harder, and it has made me focus on very, very few innovations. You can imagine I've been working for 10 years in this space, and this is my third innovation. So we're not looking at developing formula. I could be a millionaire by now, so let's put it this way. And not that I might be, but not saying that, just by trading simple things like cheap fertilizer formulations, seaweed, and sort of mixes of bacteria and various other things could actually be very profitable for the business. But we are developing solutions that actually work. We put the patents. We try to work with reputable universities to demonstrate this and understand more about the mode of action, and make sure that the farmers are actually using these properly. Because you have I don't know if you've seen ever what goes into a spraying tank, but as they say, they're throwing the sink to it. So when you're working in a situation where you've got an active ingredient that does a specific job, but then mixing it together with a million other things and putting on the crop, the crop has a lot of stress from fungicides, from nutrients. There's toxicity of the micronutrients that you're putting on. Depends on the climate as well. I mean, in the hot climates, they will spray 1,000 liters, or let's say 2.6 tons per acre to a crop, because it dries the moment you spray. So there's so many different situations. You just can't go and say, use this at 5 liters per hectare. And of course, there's the other thing where there's not a product that doesn't claim that increases the yield by 5-10%. So if the farmer goes and uses a list of 20 products, that doesn't mean that they're going to get 150% increase in yield. If anything, they're confusing the crop so much, and they're causing so much disturbance that nothing happens, basically. And that's what we usually see. So there's both sides to blame. It's the companies that they don't give a good training, and they don't demonstrate well to the farmer how to use the products and not to mix the product. Because once you sold it, you're happy, you left that farm, you say, oh well, yeah, I made a sale. But will the farmer follow that properly, or will they use it because they will mix it with another 5 things that might be antagonists, and that can cause an issue. And that's this is where a lot of this snake oil has been created, basically. But yeah, that makes my job harder, because you go there and you want the farmers to test things. We always do independent trials, and I work with research institutes and universities and companies. And unless you try the products in real situations, and this year we have the Innovate UK grant with DEFRA. DEFRA is the Department of Agriculture in the UK, who funded a lot of large-scale field trials, basically. So we want to see exactly what's happening in the large scale, exactly what's happening in different spray tanks and different farming practices that different farmers have across the UK, and then work out an average as to when it works, what is the benefit, and when it doesn't, why it didn't work. And we'll be able to trace that back. And equally, we're using diffusion tubes that will measure the nitrous oxide in the atmosphere to show that we're actually removing nitrous oxide in a large scale. And we have done that in the last 3 years, and we'll continue to show a reduction even in moving air over a field, which is important. So we have all these different points of proof that it's impossible to relate our technology to a snake oil. So that's how.
Well, to come to your defense, I would say, I've met you personally, and you're a fantastic guy. You're extremely humble, straightforward, instantly likable. Seem like a really honest fellow. But there's also all your academic background and your track record that you have patented products before and sold them. Obviously, they must have had some efficacy or some value in the market. And I think this is a really big deal. I mean, most producers, I think, are extremely focused on how much nitrogen do I need and where do I put it and what's the best way to apply the exact right amount of nitrogen to get the best results economically and yield-wise on the farm. And this just hits so many cool parts of what needs to happen in agriculture next. It's very cool. So appreciate you coming on the show. It was good to catch up with you after.
Thank you, Dan.
This conversation was multi-purpose. We wanted to catch up a little bit. I want to learn more about the technology. I wanted to share with some folks and get their take on it, because bringing things like this to Canada is extremely exciting aspect of what we do. And, when you run across something like this, you think it's kind of a shame if it never saw the light of day, pardon the pun, in Canada.
Yeah, a lot of things that we have done, including, I guess, the first technology, because I go around and I say, does anyone know Crop Intellect? And usually it's like, no, never heard of you. And then you mention a product and it says, oh yeah, we love that product, we use it. And, that's, and it's like, well, that's my technology and that product. And if anything, Cargill, so our first patent is sold in nearly 5 million hectares in Europe. So,
wow.
But again, no one to see Crop Intellect, but at least that's the reach that we have with collaborators. And this is where I was thinking I should have charged more,
Plus the Queen is using it. I mean, if it's good enough for the Queen.
Yeah, that's right. That's why this is going to live to 100 and X years.
I put that right on the jar, man. I put that right on the jar, royalty approved. Nice.
Brilliant.
Well, it was good catching up with you, man. I appreciate you taking time after a long day over in the UK there. And we're going to stay in touch.
Thanks,
we're going to try
Dan.
some on the farm, and maybe we'll have an opportunity to bring this awesome technology to the farm. And good luck with all your money raise and all that. I'm sure that's a critical next step to scale up.
Yeah, indeed.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Tolis.
thanks, Dan.